We're talking about resilience to stress and its role as one of the three main pillars of behavior therapy. Resilience to stress is something that we can build, and it's something that dysregulated dogs are often lacking. And resilience can be quite a loaded word. Here in this context, there's no judgment value around this. It's just that when we have nervous systems that are chronically hyper aroused, chronically acting as if there is a threat, even though there may not be a threat, that takes a toll. And so we may see that bounce back from a stress event is not as strong as we would like it to be, and that can actually get in the way of our progress in behavior therapy. This commenter says, "My poor pup took like 2 weeks to be comfortable outside again after she got stung by a bee." And this is exactly why building that resilience is so important, because bee stings happen. Dogs might get sick. Our routines might fall apart for the day or a week, or they might shift. We might move. We might have a visitor. There might be a thunderstorm. Stress is going to happen. And so when we support our dogs in building their resilience to stress, we make it so that these daily life stressors or even these big changes don't completely derail them. They don't force us to pause as long as we might otherwise need to allow them to recover. They're able to get back to feeling better faster. And that is good for everything. It's good for behavioral health, but it's also good for their physical health and their emotional health. And sometimes what we see too, especially within the subset of dogs who are dysregulated, meaning their baseline stress levels are riding a bit higher than ideal, leaving them with a smaller window of tolerance to deal with stress. We often see that these dogs are sometimes single event learners as well. And so they have a negative experience and they make a bunch of associations with that experience. And so they get stung by a bee and they are like, the outside is no longer safe. And so all of these things can come together where those stress levels are staying higher than ideal. And we might see externally that the learner seems to go back to normal. They're no longer showing these big overt signs of distress, but we might notice that their sleep or appetite is disrupted. They're not as playful. They're engaging in more displacement behaviors, more coping skills. We might see that they are reacting faster and more intensely, more frequently for a longer period of time than they were previously. We might notice that their window of tolerance is even smaller than before. And these are signs that our baseline stress levels have not, in fact, gone back to normal. And often the dogs I work with really struggle with resilience to stress. And that's because their nervous systems are on high alert all the time. And so they are they're using a lot of resources, and so we don't see that resilience to stress that we might see in a nervous system that generally knows that it is safe. But we can build resilience to stress, and we have a lot of good science around what contributes to building resilience, including agency, which can include consent. It can include choices. It can include ensuring communication. Agency as an umbrella is a huge piece of building resilience to stress. So it has to be, it plays a huge role in behavior therapy work. Agency is key. And one of the things in the Behavior Bites webinar trio that's coming up, where we're going to dive into each of these three pillars of behavior therapy, one of the things we'll look at are the pitfalls that we tend to run into. And under resilience, one of the biggest pitfalls can be that we try to build resilience to stress by micromanaging our dogs or by telling them what to do instead of teaching them how to cope. So we ask them for a sit and a focus instead of asking them to use their nose, lower their head beneath their body, engage in behaviors that are on a physiological level going to lower stress, and then be very intrinsically reinforcing because the dog feels better. And we want to do that in such a way that we are not restricting agency in our pursuit of helping the dog, of supporting the dog, because that agency is key. And I've seen dogs who have, they've experienced, say, a move with the same family, but they've moved into a new house and they've taken months to get back to where they were in a similar environment previously, before the move. And I've seen those same dogs learn to bounce back from stress events faster. so that when things do go awry, and they will go awry, it doesn't break things down in the same way that it would have before. The dog is able to rest and recover and have their needs met and then get back to feeling good faster. And ideally, our behavior therapy work is also set up to ensure resilience to the human, because this work is hard, and it is work that requires a plan that looks for sustainability. We often say, right, behavior therapy is a marathon, not a sprint, and so the work has to be sustainable. And so we, the humans, have to also develop some resilience to stress, to the ups and downs and unexpected turns that our behavior work is going to take. Some of that is in understanding that behavior work is nonlinear. Some of it is knowing how we measure success in behavior work, and we've made some videos recently on both of those topics. Data collection is a huge piece because on those bad days, we need to be able to look back and go, okay, this week has been really hard, but I can clearly see our progress trending upward. Because it's really, really common in behavior therapy for us humans to sort of forget how bad things were. And so our bar of what success looks like can keep moving. And then we feel like we're always chasing it. And so collecting data, having something observable, something tangible that we can look back on and go, okay, look at these trends, look at these things. Oh my gosh, I forgot when my dog used to do that behavior. That doesn't happen at all anymore. I can't remember the last time I worried about that. That is so important. And so we want to factor in our dog's learning. We want to really consider how they're learning and how their experience impacts their ability to handle and bounce back from stress, and then craft our plan to really consider that individual. And we want to do the same for ourselves.